Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. How you doing? Thank you for the follow, Nerdo Baggins. I like your name. So yeah, we're gonna be reading true scary stories on Reddit today. And I think this should be fun. I was thinking about having, you know how they have that like forest, dark forest ambient music or whatever? I don't know if I want to have that or just keep the white bat audio. I might just keep the white bat audio. That's the music that's playing now. But yeah, so we're gonna be doing that. I'm gonna wait a minute, see if anybody else comes through, and I'm gonna pick which which story I want to read first. So I went to the strange tab. Oh, it's so small. How am I supposed to read this? Thank you for following, Sokane. Hello, how are you? Thank you for the follow. How do you pronounce your name? Sokane? Oh, I said it right. Awesome. That rarely happens. But yeah, thank you for following. Thank you for hanging out. We're gonna read some. Let me turn this down just a little bit. It's more like background music. It's a little hard. Yeah. I've had hard names to try to pronounce, but that one's not that bad. Oh, this type is so small. How do I make this bigger? How am I supposed to read this? I got bad eyes. I want to make this font bigger. Heck. Maybe if I, let me see. No, that doesn't help. Zoom? I can't zoom. How do I zoom? Hold control and a scroll wheel? Oh. Oh. Thank. That is way better. Oh my god. So yeah, we're gonna read some. I went to the strange tab of this, true Reddit stories, and I'm just gonna read what's here. It may be good, it may be not good. Or use the three dots menu and push the zoom buttons. Oh, this is good though. I got it. All right. So the first one is Hoofy, a true story a native inmate told me. Oh, were they in prison? Fair enough. So Hoofy. Can I get closer? Yes. Cool. I can read this. um, this is an old story told to me a few years ago. I was just reminded of it a couple of days back. Wait, I'm gonna turn this down just a tad. It's background music. All right, this is an old story told to me from a few years ago. I was just reminded of it a couple of days back. When retelling it, I'm curious if anyone has ever heard of this or if it was made up by the person who told me it. I used to work at a maximum security prison where I was in. Oh, you were the cop. No. I was in charge of overseeing the production of food. Oh, no, you weren't a cop. Never mind. Not a CO by any means. And I was able to talk to the inmates very frequently. One early morning, I was doing paperwork when one of the inmates was doing some sort of stalking, and we were talking about urban legends. The man was Native American, I think Navajo, but I could be wrong. He will be dubbed Storm for the sake of this story, I think they meant. And Storm told me about a legend and an experience he had on his reserve about some sort of devil, a devil called Hoofy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Hoofy? It looks like Hoofy. He claims there is this handsome man with a tall white cowboy hat and boots that frequently goes into casinos. He doesn't gamble. He flirts with beautiful young women and lures them out of the casino. Once he takes these women to his home, he transforms into this tall creature with shaggy goat legs and long black hair. His beautiful face turned into a mix of a demonic horse and a wolf with piercing red eyes. He devours these women and leaves their clothing around his homestead as a memento of his killings. Yo, what? I laughed, sorry, because it sounded like a typical monster, but Storm gets serious and then tells that he had a close encounter with Hoopy and he barely made it out alive. Storm and his cousin lived in an Arizona reservation on the side of the South Mountain, very close to my hometown in Estrella Mountain. One day, he and his cousin were drinking and trying to pass the time as there wasn't much to do. They decided to take a walk into the desert just for the hell of it. Not much else to do anyways. It was about half an hour or so from sundown, so the two tread off in a direction and enjoy the scenery of the plain desert. They walked for about 15 minutes or so when they come across this abandoned church-like building. It was old and decrepit with weak wooden structures that looked as though a stiff wind could break down. The two walked through the church and out the back, walking through broken pews and the floor creaking with each step. They laughed about how freaky and weird this old building was before slowly making their way out. They walk out the door and jump over a trench just past the back end of the church. The pair continued to walk and laugh when they came across something strange. Storm says he saw a wide arrangement of shoes, muddy red high heels, black flats, torn brown pumps, an assortment of women's shoes scattered around them that were broken and dirty, clearly abandoned for some time. Storm picked up a shoe. Why would you touch it? Don't touch things. Leave it alone. Storm picked up a shoe to inspect it. When he turned to his cousin, the look on his cousin's face was that of complete and utter horror. Not the shoe. His face was pale and his eyes were wide, close to tearing, and he was looking behind Storm. Storm was about to turn around when his cousin stopped him. No, he whispers, placing his hands on Storm's shoulders. Don't look up. Keep your head down, man. Frightened, Storm followed his cousin's words. You're like, yeah, you wouldn't have to tell me twice. Don't turn around. I'm not turning around. He never seen his cousin so freaked out. Then he heard it, a pair of heavy footsteps walking behind him. The sound of labored breathing matching with the steps, and Storm feels as though his whole body felt 10 degrees cooler. His shoulders were shaking when his cousin pulled his hand and stepped back slowly. We need to go. His voice was nearly lost in the heavy steps behind him, but Storm heard him just barely. Whatever you do, don't look back, was the last thing his cousin told him before he booked it. His cousin was like, all right, we going. We out. The pair ran as fast as they could, sprinting past the old church and running into their homestead. His cousin yelled out native prayers in hopes that some sort of ancestral guardian could stop this beast. Sorry for the brief Saturday, but I gotta go now. Have a good one. Have a good one, Nerdo. Hydrate, chat. I do have liquid. Thank you for stopping by. Where was I? Okay. His cousin yelled out native prayers in hope that some sort of ancestral guardian could stop this beast. All the while, Storm could hear the galloping of hooves behind him, the feeling of the creature breathing against the back of his neck. Hot and sticky breath, smelling of rotten flesh, motivating him to keep running no matter how tired he got. For he knew he would be this creature's next meal if he slowed down one bit. They ran, cutting time back to their home in half. They safely did make it back inside their home just as the sun was setting, bathing their home in a warm orange glow of the sun. Sometimes these are written a little weird. Panting against the wall, Storm placed a hand over his fast-beating heart, scared of what he might see, but he had to know. Storm stumbled to an outside window. Why would you? He told you not to look. pulled back a blind, peering out into the dusking landscape. In the direction that they came from, Soren could see the back of the creature walking away. 8 foot tall being with long, silky black hair that reached his waist, where human legs should be instead, was a pair of long goat like legs with black, stamping hooves that kicked up dust as it walked away. He's gonna look anyways. They always have to look. Okay, that was the story of Hoofy. Oh, I get it now because he has hooves. I don't know. What do y'all think of that one? That sounds crazy. Also, do we want to stick with the strange category? Or do we want to, because there's discussion. How do I find the cat? I don't read it that much. Is there like a list of categories? Nah. I went to strange. That was like the first one. But I think there's like ooh, spooky. Spooky. Let's go to spooky. The seashell I picked up years ago is shattered. Let's go to this. What's this? 6 years ago, when I was 17 years old, my dad took our family island hopping in Indonesia. One island we stopped by had a small market selling handmade souvenirs and coconut water. There I saw a big seashell. It was coral colored with an iridescent finish. There was other prettier seashell, but somehow I was attracted to this one seashell. I asked my dad if I can have it, and he turned to our guide. Our guide can see the supernatural beings like Jinn. My dad asked him if there was anything attached to the seashell, and our guide said no, so we bought it. After I brought it home and put it on the shelf, nothing happened. We have a live-in maid who has worked with us for several years. She didn't come with us when we were island hopping because of her sea phobia. She too can see the supernatural, but not all the time. She once said to me that she saw an old lady sitting on my bed and she thought it came with the seashell I brought. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, that thing's cursed. She saw our maid and disappeared. I didn't pay attention to it because as long as they don't bother me, I won't bother them. Mm, I don't know. um, 2 years ago, we found out our maid betrayed us because she endangered my sister by giving her phone number to debt collectors. What the fuck? We fired her. I was especially upset because she raised me and I couldn't imagine she would ever betray us. I vent about it to my friends over the phone in my room. Last year, our former maid begged my mom to rehire her. My mom, being the soft-hearted person she is, agreed, so she became our maid for only 3 months. No longer a live-in maid. Jan, I'm here. Hey, Lucy. How are you? How was your stream? You had a good stream? I'm reading scary Reddit stories. The first one was weird. It was about Hoofy, a Native American goat man. So sorry I haven't caught your streams recently. I've been sleeping earlier. Do sleep. I want everybody to get good sleep. You don't have to watch me. I put them on YouTube. I have to yell at Gemini about sleeping. But yeah, I'm glad you're doing okay. I'm reading scary stories. Scary stories to tell in the dark. Had a good stream, but you were a little tired, so I ended it early. Oh, okay. Well, if you need to get some rest, get some rest. But I'm glad you stopped by and said hi. Yeah, I'm reading scary stories. This one so far is about a seashell and a crooked maid. The first one was about a goat man, Native American goat man. You're gonna lurk and go make food. Ooh, what you eating? Spooky is awesome. A goat man? Well, he was like, he had hooves. His legs were hooves. Like a goat, they said. And it said his face was creepy. So it's like a goat man. So special red stew, fried chicken, and basmati rice. Ooh, red stew. Ooh, that sounds good. I love chicken and rice in all forms. Where was I? Last year, a former maid begged my mom to rehire her. My mom, being a soft-hearted person she is, agreed. So she became my maid for only 3 months. No longer a live-in maid. On the first day, she went upstairs and then came tumbling down. We asked how she fell down the stairs. She told us the old lady that was usually in my room pushed her. She said the old lady told her not to upset me anymore again. As long as they don't bother me, I won't bother them. Have a good lurk, Lucy. Go enjoy your food. Last week, I went to another state with my friend. We had a fun vacation and we visited a historical location at night, as there was lively nightlife there. As soon as we got home, I started having nightmares. It was so bad, I started to play Quran recitals at night. I was having little to no sleep. The nightmare consists of me being forced to take a newborn baby from a woman. Every time I manage to not take the baby with the help of an old woman. Yo, that's a nightmare. Please don't give me a baby. No, keep it away. Good philosophy to have. Don't bother them, they don't bother me. True, true, true. Uh, so the old lady helped her not have a baby? Last night, the woman with the baby in my nightmare was usually far from me. Then I saw the old woman restraining her and bids farewell to me. This morning, I found the seashell shatter on the floor. The thing is, I secured the seashell on my shelf with a strong double sided tape because I was afraid it might slip and fall. I looked at the shelf and I saw that there were some shell bits on the double sided tape. The only explanation was that the seashell ex- to explode before falling down. The seashell was shattered and broken before it even fell. How many times are they gonna make me say seashell? That's hard to say. I think the old lady in the room came from the seashell and she protected me from nightmares. I think she's gone now that the seashell is broke. I have to find a river so I can dispose of it properly. Wow. Oh, it's basically dust. She said it shattered that much. That was spooky. That was legit spooky. Ooh, was I possessed? Her name was Rachel. Hmm. Interesting, right? I'm looking for someone who may be spiritually knowledgeable. Tell me what the hell happened to me. I have posted this on Reddit a total of 2 times. This one is my third. The first incident was about a man I saw in my closet in a previous home. Now at my new home, we keep experiencing weird stuff in the bathroom, such as lights being turned on, things falling off the counter, and things being pushed out of the bathroom. I have 2 things to talk about. Hold on, let me take a sip. Reading. Gotta protect the throat. um, I was sleeping in my bed, obviously, and I felt like I was in this limbo. I was awake, but at the same time, I was not awake. Let me explain. When I sleep, I lay down like any other person, duh, but for some reason, when I snapped out of this limbo, I was sitting up straight, staring into the darkness of my room. It was so odd. I felt like I had been awake without actually being awake. On a separate night, I was listening to music, specifically this song by a guy named Gemini. I believe the song was called Sleep. I believe I was watching TV when the screen went dark. I thought I heard something in my room. It is completely dark at this point. So I took the covers off my head and slightly peered towards my closet. I swore I saw a shadow with a knife lunge at me. I ducked back into the covers, under the covers, quickly panicking. My heartbeat was irregular and I was freaking out. Of course, nothing happened. That's sleep paralysis. That's what that is. Also, a side note, my brother swears up and down that I hear someone walking past his door at night. He swears it's one of us. Oh, so he hears somebody walking past the door. He swears it is one of us, but that can't be true. When everyone is asleep, we are asleep. We don't walk around at 3 in the morning doing diddly squat like he does. We are religious, but we don't believe in any Christian faith, although we read from the Bible. I wouldn't say we have a specific religious philosophy to follow. We just read the Bible and decipher it like codes. May not be for everyone. That's what works our family. Someone please explain this to me. What? Wait, what does that have to do with being possessed? I'm so confused. Why do you think you were possessed? Your house is haunted. I don't think she's possessed. I think that's weird. I don't know. I think she had sleep paralysis. That's all that was. And like sleep paralysis makes you see and feel the weirdest shit. Haunted house or haunted house, but I don't think she was possessed. Cause that's completely different. You get fucked up with possession. Wait, let me move my. Oh nope, I can't. That's about as far as I go. Okay. I'm just adjusting things. Cool. Yeah, maybe it was a haunted house. I don't know. The lights in the bathroom and stuff is weird. But I think seeing the dude in the closet was sleep paralysis. But sometimes when your house is haunted, you also have sleep paralysis. But it's the ghost fucking with you, not just, sleep paralysis. um, but no, that was good. This one is her name was Rachel. I was walking to my sister's college dorm in the dead of night at 2 a.m. Why? After finally parking my car in a remote lot, I had a long plane and car journey riddled with bumps on the road only to arrive here at this ungodly. Oh, she was visiting her, I think. Or they were visiting her. The campus was empty. This is Plenty Leader. I haven't been looking at the names. Campus was empty because a recent ice storm had frozen everyone in. The crackle of ice and crunch of my feet were the only sounds as I hiked my heavy backpack higher on my shoulder. I was carefully shuffling alongside the road, trying to avoid slipping and guided by the glow of spare streetlights. After a few minutes of walking and some misdirection, I located the entrance to the room, a little concrete entryway with a porch light in the darkness. And as I was texting my sister to come down and let me in, the blue and red of flashing police lights caught my eye. No siren. The cop car slowly pulled by the curb, and an indistinct man in a uniform stepped out. Nobody else was there, so was he there for me? Did I look suspicious or homeless like a lost girl due to the backpack? It was possible he was checking up on me due to that. However, he walked up to stand near me and said nothing, seemingly waiting for something. I clutched my phone, feeling the slight anxiety of a police officer turning his lights on but addressing nothing, and the slight anxiety of a human's proximity without addressing the other human. I could swear I felt eyes on me. Hi, can I help you? I asked abruptly, turning to look him full in the eye while taking a tentative step back. I'm looking for a girl that went missing in the area. What's your name and what are you doing here? Oh, it's Rachel. My sister's coming to get me, I said with a mind to suddenly make a call, gripping my phone even tighter when the screen unlocked. Was I being suspicious somehow? Why was he being weird? I'm staying with her for the weekend. He said nothing. He just kept standing there. So somebody's missing on campus? That's awful. I wondered if my sister would know who it was or how somebody can go missing on campus in such a safe town. What's the girl's name? It was Rachel. You look like her. Wow, that's creepy. That's a coincidence. Well, it's a common name around here. Still silence. I caught the welcome sight of my sister coming down the stairs. She buzzed me in, and I realized the officer was coming into the dorm with my sister's buzz in too. What did he need to do here so late at night? Was the girl missing from the building? Is she the missing girl? I don't know, man. Good luck, I said after greeting my sister, referring to the missing girl. He had already begun to walk away, so the entryway was to his back. No acknowledgement in return as the guy slipped past the stairwell and into another area of the dorm. What was even through that door? So strange. We ran up the stairs and I locked my sister's door behind me, both locks. I explained that the cop was looking for a girl missing on campus and asked if my sister knew any other Rachels, and she said no. After settling into the couch, I googled missing girl Rachel, insert town name here, and started to shake when I came across an article of a local cold case with a picture of a missing girl who bore no true resemblance to me, but had the same awkward innocence in her expression that I did, a sort of dorky, kind look in her eyes that struck me. Her name wasn't Rachel. Her name was Rachel? The officer said her name was Rachel. He also said I looked like a missing girl, so who the hell was he talking about? Maybe I did, but how does he know an adult college girl go missing on such a small campus? It would be all over the news if a young woman had genuinely gone missing, but as I checked in periodically, nothing ever made headlines. Coincidence or not, benign or not, exhausted or not, the entire strange incident spooked me and made me weary of walking alone so late at night. Crime is all about opportunity. In my gut, I knew that something was wrong. What would have happened if my sister hadn't showed up so quickly? He would have killed you. He would have killed you. You would have been the missing girl named Rachel. I don't trust him. I think he was going to kill her. That's why he was like, yeah, her name is Rachel. Because he's... You would have been the missing girl. Yeah. Real life humans are scarier than ghosts. Real life humans are scarier than ghosts, man. Especially cops. Smiling and unblinking men? Ooh. I'm gonna go back to Strange too, but I like this one. Definitely. Yeah, man. Real life humans, people who are alive, are scarier than ghosts. Ghosts you can kind of deal with. Humans, you don't know what they're gonna do. Rather encounter a ghost. Same. Especially somebody like that, man. Excuse me. All right, this is smiling and unblinking men. Not once, but twice, I've experienced something that has etched itself in my memory, leaving behind an uneasy feeling that hasn't let go. It wasn't just a random oddity, but two separate occasions, months apart, that chilled me to the bone. The first time, this is quick. The first time I was walking in an ordinary afternoon, out of the blue, my eyes drifted towards a car passing beside me. There, sitting in the front seat, was a middle-aged man. His head had fully swiveled in my direction almost unnaturally, and his eyes were locked onto mine. Oh, hell no. No, I don't like that. It's some like weird Men in Black shit. Wide and unblinking. Ugh. His mouth was stretched into a big eerie smile. What is this? This is creepy. The kind that seemed to conceal a private joke or something even darker. I looked away quickly, trying to shrug off the tension, but a chill lingered at the back of my neck. Months passed, and the encounter faded into a weird, unsettling memory. I tried to brush it aside. Until it happened again. Another day, another drive, completely different part of town. My mind was elsewhere when another car stopped at the red light. I was waiting at the bus stop with friends, and he was the only car on the road at night. I glanced over and there he was. Well, not the same man, but a similar one. Middle-aged, smiling too broadly, his head twisted to keep his unblinking stare fixed on me. My stomach knot with a sudden suffocating anxiety. I forced myself to keep my gaze forward, pretending it didn't rattle me, but my pulse hammered in my ears. It hadn't happened since, but the memory lingers. The strangest part is how it occurred twice. Two different men, two separate instances, but the same unsettling smile. Has anyone else experienced something this bizarre? I don't know why, but it really bothered me. Ooh, somebody else had an encounter. One was at McDonald's. I was in the drive-thru and the customer was inside at the counter. She turned her head and stared me down through the open drive-thru window hard. I broke the gaze, but when I looked back, she hadn't budged, still staring through me. I felt a real evil and hatred. The episode was bothering me since. The second time was in a large crowd at a fair, maybe, and I was scanning the crowd area. A man deep in the crowd was staring at me with such an evil and hatred, a darkness. His face was almost snarling. Pure hatred! Both incidents really unnerved me, and they still do years later. I'm very spiritual, and the only thing I can think of is a higher power was keeping that evil away from me. I don't know how, but I felt like they were restrained from getting to me and hated me for it. It was the most unsettling, unnerving thing I ever. Man, absolutely the fuck not. It's like that movie Smile, which I haven't seen, but Basement, Ooh, a haunted house story. Let's go. How long is this? Not that long. Oh, it's just one big paragraph. Do y'all know how hard it is to read this? Smile is weird. I've not seen it yet. Is it worth watching? I heard a lot of people say it was weird. um, I've seen like stills from it and like gifs and stuff, but as a horror fan, I'd say no. Well, I'll take your word for it because I also like horror movies, but a lot of them kind of corny. A lot of like the newer ones are just kind of corny, you know? And I don't really like gore that much. I think it's. You didn't think it was scary? Ah. Yeah, a lot of them are just like. Yeah, they're not scary. Like at all. They're just like, ooh, look. This is creepy. Or they do jump scares. Or it's just gore, but nothing's actually scary happening. It's just people getting cut up. And like, okay, slasher fix, I guess. But like like make it a little scary at least, not just like some poor kid or whatever getting sliced up and then, oh look, it's scary. It's like it's not. And I don't think jump scares are scary. There's that you get scared because, you know, it's a jump scare. It's jump scaring you, but like it's not actually scary. So like half of the FCP entries, exactly. That's why I got bored reading that, cause it's all just gore, or vor, or hold on, let me fix this. Okay, it's so boring. Or it's just like, ew, a bug came out of them, or body horror. I don't know. I want to be scared. I want things to scare me, like make me stay up at night. But like, you know, not for too long, because I like sleep. But like, you know what I mean? Scare me. Don't just cut people up or jump scare. Or like Kubrick stare at the camera the whole time. Anyway, enough of my ranting. So this is called Basement. This is a true story. I mean, I hope it is. It's under True Scary Stories. Um, I grew up in a haunted house. There was a man who lived across the street from us, and I think he was psychic. He told us that our whole neighborhood was on some sort of negative vortex that let spirits in. He said that, at least he didn't say it was an Indian burial ground. Like they love to say it's a Native American burial ground, and that's why the land is cursed. They say that so much all the time in these stories. I like the vortex though, that's cool. He said that everybody who lived on this street and the surrounding ones would have a tragedy happen to him. My family had death after death. Our next door neighbors had awful luck. Another house directly across from us, not the psychic guy, was always being sold and rebought. Nobody wanted to stay there for some reason. I believe 2 of the men died sudden and random heart attacks. Another person burned themselves alive in their garage. Another house in my neighborhood was redoing their basement and they found satanic things written on the walls and some sort of relics. My house specifically, though, I believe, but where is this so we can never move there? Say where the evil vortex is so nobody else moves there. I need to know. My house specifically, though, I believe had the most activity, mostly in the basements. Lights would go on and off by themselves. Things would slam and break on their own. A picture of Jesus flew across the room by itself and dented our dryer. Holy shit. How heavy was that picture? Our family or friends who stayed over said they would hear somebody saying, "Get out," and everybody would see dark figures, including me. I used to hear people calling my name when nobody was home or my mom was sleeping. We would always hear loud bangs. It got so bad we had to have our house blessed. We used to hear scratching all over the walls and random old music. When my grandfather died, me, my mom, my grandma, and my friend said they saw him. My friend said he was up in the trees. Why is he up in the trees? What is going on here? Uh, every year, a bunch of squirrels would jump into our pool and die. There was a lamp in the basement that if we asked the ghost to turn it on, they would. My mom played with a Ouija board. Why? Why would you do that? I think maybe that's why these things were happening on top of the whole neighborhood being haunted. We end up selling our house and moving out. We sometimes check up on the lady who owns the house now. She posts all the time how the house is haunted. She also had a lot of tragedies. My mom also babysat from one of the houses in our neighborhood. She said that the little girl woke up in the middle of the night and opened the front door. My mom asked her what she was doing, and she said that people in her pillow told her to open the door. That was the same house where the two men had heart attacks. Ever since I lived in that house, I felt like I'm sensitive to ghosts. Thank you for listening to my story. Did your neighbor ever elaborate further, right? I need to know where this is so that I never move there. Was it sleep paralysis or something else? It was probably sleep paralysis. Oh, Seattle. Hey, we're planning on moving there eventually, so maybe I should look at this. January of 2022, I moved to Victorville, California for work from the Seattle area. Oh, okay. So this happened in Cali? I had a close friend already there, so she let me stay with her since the person I was previously going to move in declined not to. I am a black 36 male, and my roommate was an older Asian female. We knew each other while working together in Washington. She always cooked for me, which was much appreciated. It was a two-bedroom fourplex and was pretty spacious. Some nights while sleeping in this particular room, I had the most severe cases of sleep paralysis I've ever had in my life. It mainly happened when I slept on my back, mostly. Yeah, don't sleep on your back. Why is it that when you sleep on your back a lot, you get sleep paralysis? What does that have to do with it? Is it like the brain position or something? Because, like, every time I end up on my back, I have some kind of sleep paralysis. If I'm um, if I'm during the right sleep cycle or whatever, and I end up on my back, sleep paralysis, just like that. Not ever when I'm on my side or not, just only on my back. And that seems to happen to a lot of people. Um, Mainly happen when I sleep on my back. I'd be asleep having a dream, and all of a sudden the people's faces from my dream would turn demonic looking and the paralysis would start. I tried screaming but couldn't. I sleep with my room door locked just for extra comfort purposes. One night I could have sworn I saw a dark figure enter through the door. The sleep paralysis kept happening on and off for the next several months. Finally, my roommate decided to move out since her husband came down, so they got a spot together and she left me the place. One night I was sitting in the garage and a neighbor walked up to me and asked me, do I ever hear weird noises or do doors close on their own? She said someone died in a fire or something. It was getting dark and I really didn't need to hear this. I was scared shitless. Months passed and then I moved my pregnant fiance down, who was still living in Washington at the time. She slept in the room I used to sleep in since she needed extra space. She also had the sleep paralysis issues. He didn't tell her. I hope he told her. Um, she called me one day while I was at work and said she believes the place is haunted. When I slept in the master bedroom, I slept like a baby. No sleep paralysis or nothing, even though I was still a bit spooked from previous experiences. We finally moved back to Washington this past March and have yet to experience any other sleep paralysis episodes. What do you guys think this was? Dark energy in the room? I tried to make this as short as possible. Only comment, that's creepy. um, I'm not exactly sure that was sleep paralysis, to be honest. Because it sounds like that place was haunted. Um Host accused of being fiction. Oh, I don't care. Let's go back to strange. But no, I think that place is haunted. Ooh, paranormal experience in a hotel. Guy with a saxophone. Hold on, I have to read this because I'm from Cleveland, right? There's this dude that plays the saxophone in downtown Cleveland. And I used to see him all the time when I was younger, blah, blah, blah. We went back as I was an adult, like, how long ago? I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, right? This dude is still there. And he's still playing the saxophone. And he still looks the same. And I'm convinced that he's not human. He can't be. How does he? And then my older brother was like, yeah, I used to see him downtown all the time. And I went back and I still seen the same dude down there. He cannot be a normal person. He'd be dead by now. So this is guy with a saxophone. One day my siblings and I were taken to our school playground by our mom. I think I was maybe 11 or 12 at the time. I don't remember what happened completely, but there was a man with an orangish, pinkish, wrinkly skin facing a brick wall of the school and all black playing what I think was a saxophone. Why was he facing the wall? Or an instrument that looked like one. We were concerned and scared. We left immediately. I never knew why that strange man was at our school playground or why he was playing the saxophone, but what I do know is that it was very, very creepy. That doesn't sound creepy at all. Jazz is scary. Jazz is scary. That was not creepy. I'm sorry. Why you what? He didn't do anything. He was just playing the saxophone. He might have been homeless. Poor dude. Got some kid making fun of him. I don't like that one. I like my saxophone story better. Wait. I had to kill my throat. All right, so this is paranormal experience in hotel. This story until now I've only told to a handful of people. As before this experience, I was kind of a person who believed in what I saw with my own eyes. I wasn't totally against the idea of the paranormal, but I would struggle to believe people's stories. That was until 2014 when I stayed in a hotel in the Lake District in the UK with my girlfriend at the time. I don't know what a Lake District is. We stayed over as we were attending a family wedding. After a long day, we decided to go back to our room and watch TV before going to sleep. I opened the door to the room and let her in first. She went and sat on the bed to take off her shoes. I shut the door, but as I had done many times before, I forgot to lock it straight away. Why are some of these songs so loud? Let me see. Wait, there was one. I'll just let this play. Anyway. I forgot to lock it straight away. She always locked doors, even at home. But in my family house, we didn't always lock the door when we were home. She instantly told me to lock it, knowing I had forgotten. I then locked the door with the key. This hotel didn't have a key card like most hotels do now, just the old-fashioned key. Can't remember the exact style of the bolts, but the door also had a bolt lock as well as the key. She watched me lock it and she told me to put the key on the side and come get in bed. She was laid on the bed with her back towards the door. I undressed for a bit and turned to put my clothes on the chair. As I turned, the door was wide open. There was no draft, and I had locked the door fully. The only thing I remember was the sound of brushing along the carpet, which I thought must have been me walking. I wasn't creeped out straight away. I just told her what happened, but she didn't properly take in what I was saying as she was falling asleep. So I got into bed, but when I thought about how we knew the door was locked and she watched me lock it, I couldn't sleep, as I was confused to how this could have happened. I started to consider a paranormal explanation to the door opening as I realized the brushing sound on the carpet was the sound of the door opening. Compared to my paranormal stories, you see and hear people might think this isn't that scary, as I cannot say I've seen any ghosts or apparitions. I just know that right there, I just know that night there was no drive, and while taking actual force to push open the door, and I noticed the door never hit the wall or anything, or didn't stop just slightly open in a couple of seconds, it had fully opened. I honestly don't know how to explain this incident, but since this night, I have been a lot more open to the paranormal, and I have been on many ghost hunts, etc. Watched many documentaries and done research trying to find some paranormal evidence. No comment. That's cool. I like that story. That was a neat one. The door just opened. Nothing else happened. The door just opened after he locked it. That's cool. What? Light in the sky. Aliens. Ooh, Facebook Marketplace experience. Let's go with this. Light in the sky. My whole life I've suffered from sleep-related issues. I'm 26, and around 8 years ago, something really strange happened. We'll be the judge of that. When I was really young, my sister passed away. My death spiked a number of issues. Her death spiked a number of issues with me. The main issue was sleep. I become so scared of death, I carried weapons to bed and lay stiff as a board, falling victim to the horrors of my own imagination. My condition consisted of mainly night terrors and sleep paralysis. My mother is an amazing human being. She's very spiritual and caring. When I was young, she'd give me dream catchers to help with my nightmares, and I also recall her giving me a ring with an eye to watch over me as I slept. My mother has made some very strange claims in her life. She's actually been on BBC Radio and mentioned in a few books based on some of the experience she had under the premise of spiritual supernatural happenings. But what I saw that night didn't feel like either. My mother claimed to have had a spiritual awakening, which to some degree I believe in. One day she was normal, and the next she had changed. I remember being at school waiting for her to pick me up, but she was late. We were in the car when she finally arrived, and she was struggling to drive. She explained that she had to pull the car over to a local supermarket because of this spiritual awakening. Naturally, since dealing with nightmares, I've become aware of things seeming very real when they're actually not. Therefore, I'm quite the skeptic when it comes to things of this theme. But she had changed. My mother had unlocked knowledge. Since that day, she had become extremely smart and had an answer for everything. Her emotions had leveled and her mind became unbelievably sharp. Don't get me wrong, she was still herself. She's just a smarter, calmer version. Okay. With this new knowledge of hers came new solutions to problems, one of which being my night terrors. She explained that she could teach me to lucid dream, meaning I'd be aware I'm dreaming and take control as she did, and she did exactly that. It started with listening to a man's voice on a CD and setting triggers. Basically, I touched the tips of my fingers until I'd fallen asleep. Eventually, something strange happened. I committed to my usual practice until I nodded off. I remember looking down at my hands and noticing I was stood up. I was in the middle of a desert filled with old shipping containers. Then and there, I knew I'd finally done it. I was awake while asleep, though I soon realized controlling my dreams wouldn't be as easy as I thought. Every thought that popped into my head fabricated before my eyes, and before I knew it, there was too much going on to comprehend. I remember walking into a container and thinking, it's too quiet. I wish there were some other people here. And instantly appeared two lifeless, dead eyes, still cold men. Oh. Why didn't your brain make them like, normal and lively? Like, hey, dude, what's up? Mm-mm. As my brain exploded into confusion and fear, the men were torn apart violently. I woke up in a cold sweat. My theory was that I couldn't create people because I was trying to create people who I'd never met. Your mind can't invent a person from thin air in these references. I could go on for hours about my various experiences, but I'll cut to the chase a little. The light in the sky was something weirder than normal. One night I'd fallen asleep under the normal practice of touching my fingertips, but this time, when I'd gained control of my sleep, I wanted to roam around my house. Since I knew my home well, I assumed less could go wrong. I'm touching my fingertips until I drift into thought. I then realized I've stopped, so I began doing it again, and then realized I'm already asleep and I'm still in my house. Basically, things had gone to plan. All seemed normal at first, and I could see my sleeping body on the bed. Things looked relatively similar, but my brain had made some small changes to the colors and type of furniture I had. There was one major difference. There was a light in the sky. I could see it through my window, a very bright, deep blue light. The light glared from the sides as if I had a visual stigmatism. At first, I didn't think too much of it since I'd seen weirder in my dreams and decided to venture through my house. I began by opening my door and walking down the stairs. My staircase led down to the living room that was connected to the dining room. The two rooms separated by an open archway. I stood at the bottom step and looked through both rooms to see my mother in her dressing gown staring at the light through the patio doors. Confused, I walk over to stand behind her to get a closer look when the unthinkable happens. I hear the words, "It's woken you up too?" I look to my left and my mother is looking me dead in the eyes as if nothing unusual was happening. She clearly saw the light and heard the faint buzzing emitting from it, but two things made this scenario make no sense at all. First of all, I was not there. I was asleep in my room. I wasn't there. I had made this house in my head. Second thing was something I mentioned clearly. I cannot make people. I was completely incapable of thinking up a person. I don't know why. But whenever I was in control, I couldn't make a person that didn't simply resemble a dummy. I then, as if within a blink of an eye, woke up the next morning. Hey, zombie, how are you? We're reading spooky Reddit stories. I almost said SCP. How you doing? I concluded that I was able to conjure my mother up in my dreams simply because I knew her well enough. I went downstairs to make myself coffee, and there she was in the kitchen wearing the same dressing gown. She looks at me and says, "Did you sleep all right?" That weird light kept me up all night. I mentioned that it was weird and asked if she ever figured out what it was. She had no idea. To this day, I never told her that I was actually in bed asleep that night. I'm sure she was just telling me I'm remembering it wrong, but I know for a fact that I was asleep. I like to note I also suffer from dyslexia, and it's my first time writing this, so I hope it's legible. You're good? Awesome. But what if she was also asleep and you both were lucid dreaming the creepy light in the sky? And y'all were together because lucid dreaming is weird. What if you were both asleep? See, now I'm thinking of all kinds of cool stuff. Ooh. Reading is tough, chat. Facebook Marketplace experience. I need tea? Yeah. I need tea. I got a baby. I'm a baby at this. So Facebook Marketplace experience. In 2020, I got a hobby to sell stuff I didn't use. It also ruined my work life, so I had to find ways to earn extra money. What? Wait, selling stuff ruined your work life? That's weird. Or do they mean COVID ruined their work life? I don't know. In my post, I said I can meet the buyer as it makes it easier to sell stuff. This woman texted me that she wanted to buy. I took the metro to meet her an evening. From the platform, I walked up some stairs. She was there as agreed. I handed over the thing and she paid me. What did you sell? Why are you being vague, dude? I thought we were done, but she was very talkative. She said she had been looking through my photos and asked if I was a model, then followed up with, "Do you want me to drive you home?" Then why didn't she just drive to my address and pick it up from the first place? I don't. This one's weird. I looked towards the car. It was black and standing there in the dark place. Inside it, I could see three guys staring at me. Of course, I took the metro back. When I arrived home, she sent me SMS. She got my number because we used the app to pay with, and to do so, it needs our number. She thanked me for the stuff I sold her, and told me she would like to meet me again. I went to her profile on Facebook. She was also married with a man. I don't know what would happen if I went in that car. What? Okay. It's a little weird, but I don't think it's scary. Uh, Traffickers? I don't know. What do y'all think? I don't know. Ow. Strange dream. Weird sounds. Wait, what? Hold on. This one looks weird. This happened last night. I was watching my sisters because my parents were out and my dog is in the yard. She's usually loud, but that night it was extra bad. I call her in and she won't leave the yard. At this point, I notice a cat meowing, but it sounds wrong. Every meow is exactly the same as the last, even timing. I call more frantically, but she still won't come inside. I eventually get her in, lock the door, and the meows start to drop in pitch. Each one slightly different than the last. I don't know if I regret not shining a light out there. It's probably a cat, but I want to hear what you think. That's a flesh pedestrian. That was not a cat. This word, flesh pedestrian. I don't say that word. You don't live on Navajo land. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm adjusting in my seat. That's creepy. I don't like that. Or it's the Fae. Either way, good thing you got your dog and went back inside, because that's weird. I'm skimming it. I can tell you a spooky story once I'm done with this game. Okay. Cool. Let's see what this one is. Oh, it's quick. Good. I have had a great many times where I will wake up to the sound of people talking, but it was different. Wait, it was difficult this time. In the past, I have both heard my dad and grandfather's voice in the room in my house only to find that they aren't there and the TV was off. I have also had quite a few times I have been awakened by the sounds of people talking. I wake up and there's people voices talking either to each other or to me, and I never remember what they say, and it's never been scary for me. But the last time it happened, it was much stranger. It was the night of my high school homecoming dance, and after the dance, I went home, showered, went to bed. At some point in the night, I woke up to the sound of not just people talking, but the whole sound of a party. I sit up in bed, see a woman at the end of my bed. She points a microphone at me and asks a question I don't remember. I lay back down and roll over. What? How? Unfazed somehow and try to fall back asleep. Up until I fell asleep, the sounds of music and people, I guess, kept going. as well as the visual of people walking around my room. If you have other questions, just ask. Yeah, that's weird. I never dreamt of somebody asking me a question with a microphone. That was the cat. Man yelling incoherent nonsense outside of my apartment complex. Can anyone explain this? Okay, let me go back to the first page. Is this still strange? Okay. That's nah. Something tried getting me as a child. Glad you're alive. Ooh, Static Man. Ooh, let's read this. Static. It started softly, a faint buzz coming from the baby monitor in his daughter Lily's room. Wait, no, this sounds fake. And this supposed to be real? True scary stories. True. Come on, man. That one's definitely not real. Okay. Let's try this one. I didn't realize until after. Let me see. Okay, this might be real. This is up there for one of the eeriest, most inexplicable things that has ever happened to me or anyone I know. I decided to tell this story tonight because it is now 12:38 a.m. on December 8th, and it would have been my dad's birthday. I was one of his best friends. Aw. But this was like 3 days ago. My parents divorced when I was 15, and he had met Laura a few months later. Your dad did? My dad was an alcoholic, but not the worst I've ever seen. When I was 19, I moved about 45 minutes away to attend college, so I wasn't living with him and his girlfriend anymore. My dad called me late one afternoon, a week before Christmas, and said, Laura's leaving me. She's packing her shit right now. Can you come get me? I don't want to fucking be here. I drove there immediately. When I walked in the door for the first and only time, my dad hugged me and sobbed me on my shoulder like he was a child, and I was the adult. Thank you. I would wager that as one of the saddest and scariest moments of my life. Eventually, I convinced him to come up and spend the night at my place. We had driven maybe 2 minutes through town when he told me to stop at the liquor store. I reluctantly did. When he came back to the car, he sighed, almost sounding defeated. Take me back. I refuted. No, just come with me. You don't really need to be there right now. It's going to be okay. Why do you want to go back? Nah, just take me back. No, you're coming with me? Fuck her. I'll roll a big joint and you can sleep on. Take me back, he growled. This sounds fake too. Mama, keep reading it, whatever. I sighed, and against my intuition, I did. On the way back to his place, I played him the song Overcome by the band Live or Live? Live? No, it's Live. The lyrics say, holy water in my lungs, we both cried. I call him twice a day, every day. This is written like fan fiction. It is. I asked him what he was eating, and he said beer and Campbell soup. Third night, he was slurring his words on the phone. Told me he had gone to the bar, falling on his way home, but was okay. Just pain in his left side. The next morning, my flip phone rings around 6 a.m. It was my dad. I whispered groggily, Dad? Britt, I'm coughing up blood. You what? Coughing blood? I'm sorry, but this is fake. I can't. I want to read true scary stories, man. True. What is wrong with y'all? Maybe that's why there's this disclaimer up here. They removed my post accusing it of fiction since I already... Okay, never mind. I don't want to read something fake. Damn it. This one was fake. This one is fake. I don't want to read that. Thank you for the lurk. Hey, we read the seashell. That was cool. My roommate wanted to harm me? Difficulty level finding honesty on Reddit. Part 3 of my old scary house. No, I'm not reading 3 parts, man. Late night said terrifying. Ooh, terrifying, chat. Uh, let's see. Let's try this. Otherwise, I'm going back to strange. A little backstory, but when I first moved to the state I currently live in, I had done a bit of couch surfing before finally being able to find a roommate. We moved into a rather old apartment in the quieter part of the big city. When I say old, I mean radiator heating, electricity so bad that running too many things in the socket popped the breaker, etc. I was the first to move in because, sorry, my roommate had not yet gotten into the state. They were moving from Arizona. I had no furniture or anything, so I was sleeping on the floor. Dude. By default, I always close the door to the room I'm sleeping in, force of habit, even if I am alone in the place. One thing I noticed about the door is that it took quite a bit of force to get it shut. No big deal. I got it closed, went to the bed, and that was that. When I woke up, the door was wide open. I found that strange because I gave the door a little tug before bunkering down on the floor. I didn't think much of it at the time until it kept happening. Why wouldn't you think anything of it? What's somebody squatting in there? You don't know. After a while, I noticed the apartment started to have a weird feeling. About a week later, my roommate finally arrived and moved in. On and off, things would happen outside of the door being open when I wake up. There were sounds of someone rustling in the kitchen, footsteps long after both me and my roommate went to bed. I don't know if it was them because they always turn the hallway lights on when going to the bedroom or the kitchen. For the year and a half we lived there, that seemed to be the only bit of disturbances, nothing major. Fast forward to a year later, and I had a friend from Colorado come visit for a week. They had crept up The night had crept up on us, and we were going to hit downtown the following morning rather early, so we turned in for the night. They slept on the pull-out couch in the living room. Oh, you got furniture now. Cool. I went to my room and shut the door firmly. I passed out rather quickly. I was only out for an hour before I was awakened by a creaking noise and jiggling of my bedroom's door handle. I opened my eyes only to watch the door slowly open and then stopped after it was wide open. I assumed that maybe I just didn't shut it properly, but it still felt weird. I got up, closed the door, pulled the hood of the hoodie I was wearing to bed up because it was freezing, and in the dead of winter, and curled back in the bed. Only a few minutes had passed before I felt something snatch hold of the hood of my hoodie and yank it back as if trying to tug me along with it. I went stone still and felt my heart racing. I had no idea what was happening, and I know I wasn't dreaming. Once everything had settled, my nerves included, tried to get a little more sleep. Morning came and I went out of my room to meet my friend who was just waking up and asked them if they heard my door opening at all during the night. They confused answered no and got up for their morning routine. I can't explain what happened. I may have been amping myself up out of fear, or it could have been very well been a spirit in that apartment. Both are plausible. But it doesn't take away just how scary it was in the moment. I think about it now and then, and if I'm going to be honest, I was so glad I moved out of that apartment later that year. Bruh. Someone tried to break into my house? No. Did he time travel? Is this real? Is this real? Let's see. Okay, it doesn't seem like from the comments that it's fake. So let's see. I'm going to try to make this story short and get to the point. Now I don't know if I want to make this story scary or not, but I was visiting family members in Mexico at the state of Zacatecas. This happened exactly in December 25th, or maybe year 2019 or 2020. I was at my uncle's ranch, and me and my cousins decided to mess around, going to the cemetery to scare each other, see if we could get freaked out. The cemetery is down the road from my uncle's ranch, just a 10-minute walk. We got to the cemetery and had a little fun at night. We were leaving. This 8-year-old boy, not my cousin's and was never with us, appeared from behind us, running at full speed towards us, crying. We all screamed because we got scared and thought it was paranormal, but no, this is actually a boy being there for almost an hour. We never saw this kid. We took him home with us. He said he was playing hide and seek with his siblings during the day and hide in an abandoned room. When he got up from the hiding spot, he said it was already dark. He saw us leaving and ran to us. It was weird because we were all in the same abandoned room, but he wasn't inside. We got him food and water, and the next morning we drove him to the city and turned him into the police. We stayed longer for an investigation. What the police told us, I couldn't believe. The kid we found had been missing for over 15 years. They even showed us the old list on the computer of missing kids from the year early 2000s. His name and picture was there. We looked back at the kid, it was the same kid, but how was he still the same age? Our parents got a call, we left the police station. I remember seeing a family walking out with him, crying and hugging him. I don't know how this could have happened, but I'm just happy the kid got reunited with his family. Whoa, that's weird. Maybe he was taken by the duende. Ooh, that's like the Fae, but like the Mexican version. They would just snatch kids. That's what I was thinking, to make people disappear for so many years. That's crazy. That's wild. To miss a kid 15 years hadn't aged a day. My first thought was the Wednesday. They give you golden money. It feels like seconds when you're with them, but so many years pass without you realizing. This boy never mentioned anything about the Wednesdays. In fact, I don't remember much. That's interesting. This should be under like strange. Coincidence or what? This type is actually easier to read. How did they get a different font? I don't know anything about Reddit. I don't know if this stuff type. Wait, I don't know if this type of stuff happened to any of you, but I would try my best to relate it. Oh, dang it. Back in 2020, I was at my friend's that I knew my whole life house to stay the night and have some drinks. Uh, what? Why is this so long? Is it because I made it bigger? We we were only us two at his house, so we decided to go on the balcony and drink our beer. As the night passed, we were chatting about how each of us thinks about how the earth began, what's there in the afterlife, how humans were created, and other theories. It was really a chat that went on for like 3 hours. You ready to type a lot? I will read it. 2 weeks later, we end up in the same spot in his balcony, drinking some beers and chatting random stuff. We end up discussing about the same stuff I listed before, not knowing what's going to happen next. As the conversation progressed, I get a weird feeling. I just went with it because it wasn't a big deal. Deeper in the conversation, I said to him, "Wait, bro, this is the exact same shit you told me last time." He said, "Yeah, maybe. A little weird," but we continued talking. All of a sudden, I stopped him because I knew what he was going to say, because we already talked about that 2 weeks ago. And yeah, he said what I was thinking he was going to say. That gave us both big time chills. The thing is that I asked him if he's joking with me because saying the exact same stuff as last time. He said he didn't even remember that we talked about this topic 2 weeks ago. This moment made us speechless for 10 minutes. I know this may be not weird for all of you, but if I think about it now, it gives me chills and it makes me think what happened. This may not be scary, but for me, it kind of is. Deja vu. Deja vu. I don't think it's. I don't think it's scary. I think they just ended up talking about the same stuff that they did before. Back in 5th grade, my teacher that year would always tell us stories about the Ouija board he had in his class. Of course, being the science geek I was, it made me want to try it. Not enough to get one on my own, but if someone had one. Oh, you're still typing. Wait, the teacher had a Ouija board in class? Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum-dum. I might have a sip of tea. Ah, that's soothing. My poor throat's going through it, chat. I don't usually read this much. Um, Hang on. Had to clear my throat. Oop, chopping stuff. Cussing my stepsister, making friends with a girl who had one and regularly used it, I guess. So we had her come over and use my room at the end of the hall to mess around with it. Oh no! Zombie! Never use a Ouija board. Never! Doot, doot, doot. There's a cat meowing. What are you doing? Hey. 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 Put your butt. Put your butt. Put your butt, kitty cat. Did something happen? Cause I one time messed around with a Ouija board. I was in my friend's house. It was me, my friend Nick, and Jesse. And she had a Ouija board. I forget where from. And I don't even remember what we asked, but her freaking window opened. So we all left. I don't know if it was even from the Ouija board. Could have just been old house. And she was in the attic. And her window opened. And we were like, So we left. It either opened or closed. I don't remember. I think it opened. But it could have closed because the wind. It was an old house, and that's it. That's the only time I've ever messed with a Ouija board. The board kept saying that it was going to murk my sister and her friend, and they accused me of moving it, so I took my hands off, and it kept saying the same thing. After a while, they got spooked, and the girl went home with her board. That board is cursed. See, never mess with Ouija boards. There was some sort of demon in that one. Did y'all say goodbye? Did you say goodbye? You're supposed to say goodbye. And you should preferably sage yourself before and after. Or use some sort of, like, holy water or something. I would have not. First of all, I don't mess with Ouija boards, but if you do use one, you have to say goodbye. And make sure you cleanse yourself afterwards. Because spirits are assholes. Cut to when me and my sister were adults. Her mom had cancer and was on death's door, and her 4-year-old, whose room was my old room, started talking about a man in brown pants that would talk to him at night. No. You gotta be careful with a Luigi board. See? It's because you didn't say goodbye. Whatever the demon was in there with brown pants stuck around in that room. He was there the whole time. I don't like Ouija boards. Have some more tea. How you doing, chat? Are y'all taking care of yourselves? I have had tea. I'm ready to read again. This one says Bixler Lake? Bixler Lake? Kendallville, Indiana. This one is fascinating. Oh wait. My grandparents dropped off an old photo album to help my stepmom with her memories, and my new nephew pointed at my sister's great grandpa and said that was a man in the brown pants. What? Wow. So he didn't come from the Ouija board. He was already there, probably. He's a family member. You think so? Your great 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 grandpa? No, but the kid kept having nightmares and there were noises and stuff. Maybe he was a jerk. Maybe he was a jerk. I don't know. That's crazy though. Maybe you got in touch with him through the Ouija board. But always make sure to say goodbye. Um, but yeah, that's a crazy story. So this is Bixler Lake, Kendallville, Indiana. This one is fascinating. You lived in the basement and one time you were alone in the house. I heard someone come all the way down the stairs 4 flights, but when I looked, no one was home. That house is just straight haunted then. Just straight haunted. Um, I lived in a small town in Indiana called Kendallville, a branch town of Fort Wayne. I grew up there and I was born in that small town. One evening, me and my uncle decided to go for a bike ride. Kendallville had lots of trails and lots of scenery, just an old small town vibe. Um, there's this lake next to the high school, and it's kind of off to the side next to all the houses in the town. During the bike ride, me and my uncle decided to go behind the library, which then veered off directly into the lake. There was a street and some sidewalk, and we decided to stop at a lamppost, seeing that the moon was full over the trees, thinking it would be a beautiful picture. My uncle told me to take one of the moon and the trees over the water. While I was taking a picture, the most grueling hell sent gurgle growl made me and my uncle jump, and for the first time in my life, I heard a 6'3" giant scream louder than anything before. Oh man. As I turned around, I noticed the noise came from the back of the library between a couple of trees on a downward slope behind the library. Did you hear that too? He quickly got back on his bike and his eyes were almost bulging out of his head. As I try to find a source, I see this gray mist slowly slide in. Hey, Hawk! We're reading scary stories. uh, I see this gray mist slowly glide in between the trees on the hill and the library, and faster than anything I've ever seen before, it flew out to the lake. There were no animals, and it was late, and there was no people out. I turned around and asked my uncle if he had seen the same thing, and he agreed, and we quickly sped out of there on our bikes. You don't know if they said goodbye because I left the room because they kept accusing me of messing with the board. I don't think they did, to be honest. Gonna grab caffeine and get to your copy. Caffeinate! Recently, I found out the library used to be a hospital when the town was first established and settled on back in the 1800s. I've also heard since then a lot of drownings and accidents have happened in that body of water. It's like Lake Lanier. It's like Lake Lanier. To this day, neither of us has seen anything else paranormal, and my uncle, who was quite set in his ways, believes in spirits in the afterlife after the experience we shared. And I'm still extremely curious as to what we ran into that night. If you're curious, look up Bixler Lake, Kendallville. You can see the library and the road, and it will help with the imagery. Sorry for my lack of storytelling skills. Hope it was interesting, as to this day I still have a lump in my throat from the energy and I felt the noise we heard. Ooh. Possum or raccoon being aggressive over food? They have a scratchy guttural growl when they're pissed off. It was dark. It would have been even more weird. Listen to possum and raccoons. Yeah, but I've heard possums and raccoons. They don't sound like that. I mean, you know what a raccoon sounds like. You know we gotta do, chat. We have to look up possum sounds and raccoon sounds. Oops. Possum scream. These are all shorts. Me. Mood. Oops. I didn't mean to exit. Let's see if we can hear any more.
Make some more noise? Huh? Huh? Now I got a sound on here and you're not making any noise.
Oh.
How you gonna make noise? Huh? I don't want to bite anybody.
There you go.
Oh my God.
I'm making fun of you, huh? Don't bite mommy. Don't bite mommy.
Boy, look at the infection.
Don't bite mommy.
Yeah, there you are. You're okay. You're okay.
I don't think he's okay. Me right now waking up. That is an Angie boy. Oh, look at the baby. Oh, so tiny. Hiss. Oh. I love the creepy music with just the tiniest little baby. Oh, there's two. I want to pet a possum. I want to pet a possum. I didn't spell that right. Whatever. Raccoon scream. Also mood. Oh my God, that's hilarious. So I don't think that's what he heard. I don't think he heard a possum or a raccoon. Welcome back, Lucy. Why are they like this? They're like cats. Yeah, but he said it was, where is it? Grueling hell scent gurgle growl. That doesn't sound like a possum or a raccoon. That sounds like Sasquatch. That sounds like Sasquatch. On the other side of the treehouse door? What in the fantasy? Is this real? Chat, is this real? Oh, it might be real. Holy shit. Let me sit up. I'm gonna have tea. Also. The description is sus because if you never heard a raccoon or possum, you think it was hell sent too. That's true. But I feel like he would have heard being in that area. Both possum and raccoon. I've heard them. So this is on the other side of the treehouse door. You'd be surprised at what people ignore. That's true. When I was around 9 years old, my parents built me and my twin brother a treehouse. We lived in a very rural town in Washington State on 5 acres of land. This is going to be like some kind of crazy shit because Washington is so weird. The house and lawns took up about 2 acres of land and the other 3 were woods. The treehouse sat in the middle of these woods. Why? There's Sasquatch in those woods. There's the biggest of feet in those woods. That's like one of the top places to see Bigfoot is Washington. I don't know why you would do that. hidden away from the trails inside the woods. Not me living in Oregon. Oregon is where I want to live. I want to live there so bad. I want to go to Cannon Beach again, and I want to just be in the Oregon of it all. But there's also lots of Sasquatch in Oregon. It's Bigfoot in Oregon and Washington State. Mostly Washington State, but yeah, it's great. I know, I've been there so many times, but like Bigfoot keeps the red hats away. Yeah. I wouldn't go to those parts. I would just stick to Portland area and or Seattle area. I ain't trying to be caught up by the weird people that live in the woods. Not Sasquatch. There is a lot of Sasquatch. It's like the #1 place for seeing Bigfoot in America. You know what's number 3? Ohio. But they call him the Grass Man in Ohio. I didn't know that. But Cleveland, Ohio is just basically one big forest, so that doesn't surprise me. It's mostly the drier areas where the red hats are. Oh yeah, on the other side of the mountains. What was I reading? Okay, the treehouse sat in the middle of these woods that was hidden away from the trails inside the woods. It was a basic treehouse, nothing too fancy, but to my brother and I, it was the coolest thing in the world. We always wanted to sleep in that treehouse, but because it was in thick woods, quite away from the house, my parents said no. That makes sense because Ohio was also wetland area. Yeah. It's a we have it's so green. So many like state parks, and it's basically just one big forest. Even Cleveland, there's so many trees. But when we were 11 years old, they finally said yes after we kept begging them. My brother and I gathered up some comic books, DSs, flashlights, and sleeping bags, and we headed out to the treehouse after dinner. Washington summer evenings are pretty comfortable, so we weren't too worried about getting cold, and we're more focused on having fun in the treehouse than anything. Excuse me, chat. We set up our bags in there, and then began playing Pokemon out on DS and having a good time. As it was getting darker, we switched on our flashlights and read our comic books. The treehouse door had 2 latches to keep the door shut when it got windy. One latch on the outside and one on the inside. As we got up into our bags, I latched the door shut so that it didn't blow open in the middle of the night. I didn't remember what time it was, but I woke up to the sound of crunching on the ground below us. I sat up and listened to my surroundings, making sure I wasn't hearing things. See, it's Bigfoot. I kept hearing the crunching below the treehouse. I woke my brother up and whispered that I hear crunching. He reached for his flashlight, but I stopped him. We sat in the pitch dark listening. It seemed that the noise had stopped. He whispered back to his probably coyotes and that we are fine. Not 30 seconds later, I hear the ladder to the treehouse creak with the weight of someone climbing up. Then the door tried to be pushed open, but luckily the latch was set and the door stayed closed. A huge thud came from the other side of the door, along sounds of cracking wood. We stayed quiet, too scared to make a sound. The next sound we heard was a thump on the ground, sounding like someone jumping off the last bit of the ladder, and footsteps walking away. After what felt like hours, but was probably minutes, we got the courage to bolt back to the house, leaving everything but the DS. Even though we were scared out of our minds, we both wanted to make sure our DS were safe, especially since I had finally caught Palika, and my brother caught Dialga. I don't know the Pokemon name, chat. I'm sorry. We made it back to the house in 2 minutes, running the fastest we've ever ran before. The walk to the treehouse takes about 5 minutes from the back door, so the run back in 2 minutes was impressive for us. We grabbed the key under the pot and opened the back door, locking it behind us. We both went to our room, finally feeling safe. We didn't want to tell our parents we're happy because we didn't want Mom to say I told you so and not allow us back out there. The next week, as we were in the post office with our mom, our neighbor who lived down the road from us walked in. As my mom and neighbor got to talking, he told us that last week he found very thin, greasy, disheveled man in his shed. Oh, it wasn't Bigfoot, it was a person. When my neighbor went to go check it out, he found the man in there holding a rusty old knife. Luckily, my neighbor had brought out his hunting rifle to check it out, and the man dropped the knife. The cops were called and the man was taken away. I believe that the disheveled man was what was on the other side of the treehouse looking for a place to probably sleep that summer night. After that incident, we didn't play at the treehouse as much and only went to those woods when it was light out. I always took a knife with us from that point on. Wow, dude. See, chat? Real life people are more scarier than ghosts and Bigfoots and cryptids and all that. Oh, that is crazy. Poor old guy, homeless, rusty knife, was probably confused as to why the door was all of a sudden locked on him. Good thing they didn't say anything. He might have tried to do something. Was it a ghost or a hallucination? Hold on, I'm having some tea. Part 3 of scary things happening to me after opening the door to the shadow man. Excuse me. I don't think I want to read that. Ooh, quality post. Hang on one sec. Is that me? Me out here trying to meet this man? No. No, Hawk. No Shadow Man. You can't meet the Shadow Man. Or the Hat Man. Or whatever. Don't do it. Gotta take my mom to the doc for her checkup. Have a good drink. Thank you for stopping by. Hopefully your mom's good. So this is Quality Post. Burlington Haunting. Dyer Street in El Paso has a history of violence, drugs, sex, and death. Ask anyone in El Paso about Dyer, and I guarantee they have a story about the Devil's Triangle or the Econo Lodge. So it makes sense that the store I work at is most likely haunted. Why is Texas like this, chat? Everywhere in Texas have some sort of story about some sort of fucked up thing happening. And it's not just Galveston. It's everywhere. Literally all of Texas is haunted. It's full of chupacabras and ghosts and just everything. I work at Burlington, but it wasn't always a Burlington. It used to be a big Kmart, so they closed it down in 2017 and opened up a strip mall there. All the people that have been there since it opened in 2022 have stories of stuff falling over, footsteps being heard, but I chalked it up to the building settling or something being off balance and falling. It wasn't until last week when I started to think otherwise. So I'm closing on Black Friday, which for Burlington isn't a big deal because we don't have any sales. I mean, come on, it's already a discount store. Regardless of that info, though, the store was still packed to the gills with people doing their early Christmas shopping. It's a little past 8, and I'm helping a family take one of those little vehicles that kids can ride around to their truck. When I walk back to the store, I get a call on the radio that one of the closed-off fitting room had been opened. Now, the thing is locked up good, so I'm thinking some kids must have been yanking the doorknob or pushing it down on it and broke it. When I go to check it out, the doorknob is fine and no one is inside. I lock it back up and go back to helping out front. After 20 minutes later, I hear something fall behind me. I look back to see that a Santa Claus lawn statue had fallen over. I didn't think anything of it when I picked it up. When I set it back in place, a stuffed snowman, which was sitting on the top shelf, fell in front of me and set off the touch lights we had on the jewelry. I stepped back to see if anyone had bumped into the shelves, but it was just me right there. I was a little freaked out at this point and took a couple of steps away from the shelf. That's when the lights on the jewelry started flashing on. Now these lights don't turn on unless you tap the boxes the jewelry is in. They blink a few times at random, then stop completely. Before I can process what I'm seeing, the doors behind me, which are automatic doors, start to open and close without anyone walking by them. They open and close 3 times before all stops. No more blinking lights, and the doors are acting normally, and nothing is falling over. I tell my supervisor about it when she walks by and says, "Oh, it must be the Kmart ghost again," and walks away with a light giggle. Nothing else happened for the rest of the night, but every night I've worked since, something has fallen over without anyone around, and my coworkers have said they've heard noises in the closed-off fitting rooms. Ooh, that's cool. Kmart ghost, huh? Disturbing? No, I'm gonna skip that. I'm not sure this is anything, but I want people's opinion. I'm gonna have tea. I love haunted stories about like haunted just regular stores. There's a haunted Walmart in Galveston because it used to be an orphanage before the hurricane took everything out. And the Walmart that's there now is supposed to be haunted by like the orphanage kids and the nuns. So that's cool. I haven't been there yet though. I'm gonna go there and do a little ghost. I have the app on my phone and see if anything says something. Chat, should I do that? And then should I also stream it? I don't know how I would stream it though, because IRL streams is hard. I swear that literally every company I've worked with so far has been haunted. You bring the ghosts with you, Hawk. Maybe it's you. No, but like I swear, like there's a lot of businesses and especially hotels that are just straight up haunted. Schools sounds none too scary. Oh my, you go away. You're in timeout. Like schools, hospitals, hotels, just any business is all haunted. Everything's haunted. So this says, I'm not sure if this is anything, but I want people's opinion. So I was at the mall today, and while the interaction was very brief, it stuck with me more than I expected. So I was walking on the sidewalk just outside the mall at like 2 p.m., broad daylight, and I passed some bushes. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a black cat with green eyes. Baby, pick it up, take it home. So I looked back. I'd like to just to say that black cats or any have never bothered me or made me feel superstitious. Quite the opposite, actually. As usual, I said a friendly hello to it, and while it didn't react, it just sat there staring at me. I don't know why, but it felt different, almost wrong. I felt instinctively unsettled, but I figured it was nothing. After several seconds of the cat not moving at all, I decided to just take out my phone and take a quick picture to show my friends because that's what I always do. But the second I started to pull my phone out of my pocket, it ran off. Mind you, I was pulling out very slowly because I didn't want to scare it. So after the disappointment of it running away, my mother said I could just walk behind a little barrier wall and find it again. But something in my head was yelling at me not to. I felt really eerie and uncomfortable after seeing it, so I just decided to keep walking. But literally the entire way back to the car, I couldn't stop looking behind me because I had the strangest feeling that I was being watched and followed. Even in the car, I felt that way for a few seconds until we left. But even after all that went away, I still felt strangely unsettled. The cat looked completely normal, but something about it just felt really off. And yes, I'm well aware that none of that is really out of character for cats. I'm just really unsettled for some reason. I don't want to name names. That cat did not feel like it was a cat. Where do you live? Is there legends of like cats? Little creepy cats? I believe you about your perception of events. That being said, I really think you and the cat just vibed empathetically really well, despite it being feral and trusting, and it was probably sending you heavy "don't fuck with me, don't follow me" to my kittens unless you catch these claws signal. Maybe the cat was just warning her, like, stay the fuck back away from me, or I will scratch you. Yeah, I think the cat was just scared, and you vibed with the cat, and you were scared because the cat was scared. If that makes sense. This is not the vibe. That's more of a vibe. Uh, Midnight Run. This sounds dramatic. Hold on. My first sleep paralysis experience, I saw a demon. Yeah, that's what sleep paralysis is. This is probably fake. It's just another quality post. It wasn't an owl. That is such a weird word to say. Owl. This happened when I was in college. As I've said in some of my previous stories. Yeah, previous stories? Damn. That was a period in my life where just a lot of creepy shit happened to me. Oh, that explains it. I don't really know what I was doing to attract so many weirdos at that time in my life, but I probably should have been evaluating my life choices a little more closely. But anyway, on to the story. During college, I worked at a tutor at school, but on the weekends, I would sometimes babysit for my family friends. One of these kids was actually old enough that he didn't need a babysitter. We'll call him Chris. But he wasn't old enough to watch a younger kid. We'll call him Kevin. That's my presence on a night that would prove to be honestly terrifying as fuck. I don't know, maybe you won't think it's as bad as I felt like it was. We'll see. Okay, so anyway, I was babysitting for this family one Saturday night. The parents usually didn't stay out too late, getting home at like 10 or earlier even. Most nights when I babysat, for their mostly date night. Most nights when I babysat for their mostly date night. Weird. But this particular night was a special situation. I can't remember the circumstances of it now, but I mean, I was 19. I could stay out past 10. They figured they'd be home by 1 a.m. and they said I was welcome to spend the night, but I had already decided that would not be happening. The house honestly had super weird vibe. It was kind of isolated, and it had all these old buildings on the property, a silo, some sheds, a gigantic barn, etc. Maybe I watched too many horror movies, but I couldn't. All I could think was that there were too many places for people to hide in those buildings. Plus, the house was really old too, and those always freak me out because, you know, ghosts. So I would not be spending the night, that was for sure. So I was babysitting the kids, and Kevin wanted me to go help him find something in the basement. He had all these costumes he used to like to dress up in. One, he scared the absolute shit out of me when he came from behind me in the dark wearing an ultra-realistic soldier costume carrying a replica musket that I would have sworn was real, but turned out it wasn't. I nearly lost my shit that night. The basement was the second creepiest part of the house. The creepiest was the attic, obviously, because attics are terrifying. So if he would have asked me to go up there, it would have been a hard no. It wasn't fully finished and had it was really big with lots of corners and turns and hallways and shit with a bunch of different rooms. It was actually my first time going beyond the stairway. I kept thinking that if I had been aware of just how crazy this basement was, there was no way in hell I'd be babysitting in this house. But of course I didn't want to look like a wimp in front of a child, so I went with Kevin to his costume area, which was kind of deep into the basement because of course it was. As we were looking for the costume, Kevin was looking. I was questioning my life choices that had led me to that moment. We heard noises that can only be described as footsteps, like upstairs. At first, I just said it must be Chris, but then Chris just was suddenly in the doorway, scaring the fucking hell out of me. Seriously, no idea where the fuck he came from. And he was like, "That's not me." I remember this moment vividly. The three of us standing near this closet filled with various costumes, various creepiness in this tiny room in a super sketch basement, listening to what we thought were footsteps upstairs. Well, this is how we die, I thought, weirdly kind of immediately at peace with it. That only lasted a second before I thought, fuck that shit. I looked around for a weapon. This is where watching too many horror movies actually came in handy. Of course, there was nothing because I was in a child's playroom, and the rest of the basement had little within it apart from a washer and a dryer, which would make a poor weapon unless I could somehow push it into someone, which seemed unlikely to happen in this particular situation. In the end, I settled on this random crowbar, for Britt was just lying on the floor, and neither kid knew why. I cannot express how creepy this basement was. And I was prepared to meet our fate while considering just how much of a risk I was willing to take to keep these kids safe. It was in this moment that I realized something. The dog wasn't barking. The family had this golden retriever named Lily who would bark at fucking everything, and she wasn't barking, so I rationalized the sounds were just noise an old house would make. Plus, I realized when we heard the noises, we weren't actually under the house itself. Based on the layout in the basement, we were under the porch. So even if there was someone, it wasn't anyone in the actual house. It could have been anyone, a delivery driver being the most likely explanation. I felt a lot better, but you bet your ass I kept that crowbar. Again, I said horror movies. They seriously prepared me for this type of situation. So the kids and I went upstairs. We found Lily knocked the fuck out. Not like where someone knocked her out. She was just on. She jolted away when I touched her because she'd been sleeping that soundly. I actually thought she was dead at first because that was the way this night was going. Once upstairs, I went to the porch, very cautiously opened the door, looked for a possible package. It was winter, so it got dark early, meaning it was feasible for a delivery driver would still be working after the sun went down. But naturally, there was no package. Of course there wasn't, right? I wouldn't be posting here if that's how the story ended. So anyway, by this point, I was stressed the hell out and the kids were over it. While they were playing video games, I was Googling crime rates in the town. This is how you psych yourself out and make yourself crazy. Don't be Lily. Or no, don't be Lily's the dog. Shit. Don't be who's ever telling this story. All of a sudden, Lily perked up and started barking like a maniac. A second later, I heard her knock on the door. I just could not catch a fucking break this night. With my crowbar in hand, I walked to the door. I could see through the frosted window in the door that someone was standing there. Couldn't make out their features, but someone was there. Since I'm not a total dumbass, I didn't open the door, but I did ask through the doorway who it was. The man on the other side of the door said they had a pizza delivery. You already know what I'm about to say. We did not order a pizza. This was before every kid had a cell phone, so the boys couldn't have ordered one. Plus, they had been totally dead to the world while they played video games. And if their parents had ordered pizza, they would have told me. So naturally, again, I was prepared to fight for my life. I gripped the crowbar and told the guy we hadn't ordered a pizza. I thought for sure he was going to insist and try to get me to open the door, but he surprisingly didn't. He just said, "Oh, sorry, my mistake," turned and left. At this point, I had a lot of questions. Hold on. What was I? At this point, I had a lot of questions, as one would when facing a series of unusual events in a creepy house in the middle of nowhere. So I saw the guy walk off the porch through the frosted window. I opened the door just slightly. I wanted to see this guy, in case I had to identify him out of a lineup or something. Who thinks like this? But by the time I opened the door, he was walking away, so I only saw his back. But I immediately noticed two strange things. I didn't see a pizza in his hands. I didn't see his car. The latter I could rationalize because he might have parked on the street, which would have been strange since they had a large horseshoe-shaped driveway. But maybe. But there was no pizza. I guess technically it might have just been blocked from view, but I doubt it very much. I almost called him on this too, in a burst of ill-timed bravery. But then I realized that if I did, he would know the jig was up and have nothing to lose. So I just closed the door. Later that night, Lily was again knocked out. The kids were upstairs in bed. I didn't think I'd fall asleep. I honest to God was sitting there with a crowbar in my hands on high alert, like I was about to be in a fight for my life. In hindsight, maybe it's just a bit of an overreaction. You think? Just slightly. But I wasn't going to be one of those idiots who dies because they underestimated a threat level. Might as well have suggested the kids and I split up, which of course I realized that moment was essentially what had happened. They wouldn't have been much help to me anyway. Wasi Chris might have. He was 14. Tall as I was, he could break a board with his fist. Maybe I should have kept him around. Anyway, eventually I did fall asleep for like half an hour. I was awoken to the sound of an owl. I'm a really light sleeper, so either the owl hooting woke me up, or else it was just a coincidence. But I heard the owl when I woke up, only it didn't sound quite right. It sounded almost like an owl, but something was off about it. As I look back on this now, what I did next was extraordinarily foolish given the events that had transpired that night, but I think my tired brain wasn't working fast enough. That's the real killer in horror movies, exhaustion. In my fatigue state, I decided to investigate. I went to the door and listened. The owl was still hooting, but it sounded weird. Couldn't figure out why it sounded so off. And this is when I did another stupid thing. You opened the door! She was so paranoid, and then she opened the door. I say she, it could have been a guy, but it sounds like a girl. With the door open, I can hear the owl a little better, and I looked into the darkness, shining the light of my phone around, and given that this is early 2007, the light had left a lot to be desired. Suddenly I heard the owl again, and honest to God gasped because this is when it all came together. The hooting didn't sound like an actual owl, it sounded like a human imitating an owl, for real. Even recalling it now for the story is giving me literal chills. Maybe it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was one of the truly terrifying experiences in my life. The moment when I realized this, my heart was about to fucking pound out of my chest. And I still had the beam of light from my phone pointed into the darkness, and that's when I saw it reflected off a set of eyes that were at a level a humans would be. And remember, this was 2007, so that light was total shit, which means the owner of said eyes was uncomfortably close. Though it was so dark outside, I couldn't make out anyone. I wasn't tired anymore, so I came to my senses, locked that fucking door, barricaded with a chair, and retreated into the living room after checking all of the downstairs windows again. I also grabbed this big ass knife from the kitchen, like a Michael Myers style knife, because at this point I legitimately thought I might need it. I really contemplated calling the police, but what was I going to tell them? That something outside was making owl noises and had eyes? I'd be like, that's a fucking owl, you idiot. And then probably hang up on me, so I just sat on the couch again, this time clutching a knife and crowbar, both. I tried not to think about horror stories that I had seen, especially the ones involving well-meaning babysitters meeting gruesome ends, but it was not successful, and I did not fall asleep again. Around midnight, the parents came home. I texted them to kind of warn them without sounding like I had completely lost any shred of cool I had left, which would have been an accurate way to read my text. I said that I thought I heard someone outside, so be careful when they got home. They were totally unbothered because they live in some bizarre world where bad things don't ever happen to good people. They walked nonchalantly while I put the light away before they saw me clinging to it like a shipwreck victim clings to any piece of floating debris they can find. And this is when they told me that they thought they had heard someone outside a few nights ago, because of course this wasn't something you would tell your babysitter beforehand. I mean, why would they need to know that? So I took my very well earned, I swear to Jesus, money back to my car and got the fuck out of there. Once I got home, I realized I still had the crowbar, and won't lie to you, I never brought it back. I mean, because of their critical omission of information, I lived what was very nearly an actual nightmare, so I fucking earned that crowbar too. This was the end of my babysitting career. Only one other time that I babysit for them, and that was during a legit medical emergency one of the parents was having. Everything turned out fine. I mean, I couldn't, turn down when they called me in desperation. And nothing weird happened that night. Thank fuck, because I don't think I would have had the mental capacity to deal with that shit again. But you know, even after all these years later, I know one thing with absolute certainty: that was not an owl. I hate that story. I don't like that story. I do not appreciate that story at all. That's a flesh pedestrian. That's what that is. That's creepy. That's creepy. I don't like it. I can feel the fear they felt, right? I don't appreciate that. Like, can you imagine hearing somebody going, whoo, whoo, like that? Like, you know, that's not an owl. Absolutely not. That was spooky for real. That story was creepy. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me today. I'm gonna get some lunch. I'm gonna rest my throat. We gotta do this again though. This was fun. But yeah, I gotta get up to this level of reading more. My throat is dying. But yeah, so tomorrow I am going to be playing some more Voices of the Void, because that's gonna be super chill. And then Thursday, I'm gonna play Infinity Nikki because I've seen so much of the art from that game and it's cute as fuck, and I need to play it. That's pretty much it. But so yeah, and then Friday, more spooky videos. You should make a Discord channel for us to post our spooky experiences. Okay, I will do that. Wait, no, I have one. Just post it in spooky. It's all spooky. Just post it in spooky. But yeah, so I am going to go and I could read. I could read your spooky stories, your spooky experiences. Post it in there and then I'll read them. But yeah, so I'm going to go. Y'all have a good rest of your day and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.